real estate marketing show with Ruthierocks, Ruth Allbrand, and I am Marketing Max. Today is episode number 780, and we have a returning guest, Jack Lindberg from SciPro here. He's going to talk about how to keep yourself and your clients' information safe from hackers in the world as you're doing your transactions in real estate. But before we get to Jack, Ruth, what is happening in real estate?
Let me put you all down there, and I will. We have 20 days of inventory, been holding steady like that for about a month. And the good news is that we listed 101 homes over the weekend, and we put 102 under contract. And that's kind of the story, and that's why the days of inventory are hanging in there at between 19, 20, and 21. We've got 1,918 single-family homes available, and 31 of those were just listed over the weekend, which totals now 496 of those being 450,000 and under, and that's 26% of the market. So that's pretty healthy for single-family homes. We're doing about 130 sales a day. We've inched up this month. We keep, I think today's the first day it's 130. Friday it was about 128, 129. So that number probably will go up between now and April the 1st for March. And then the investors still buying 45 homes a day. So that's 38% of the market. And nothing much is changing. The $1 million homes are flying off the shelf at 4.5 a day. So this is really a very, very stable market. Even though people complain about low inventory, the inventory changes. As low as it is, it keeps changing. So that's the good thing. Not much else going on in the market. I think sales will probably pick up April, May. I predict it will not be like 2021 where we had 50,800 sales. I think that's going to be our record year. We're down about 20 sales a day versus last year. So I don't think we're going to see another market like last year, at least not this year, or we'll see what happens next year. I'm not going to predict farther out than that with some of the things that have been happening. All right, so we're going to bring our guest and Max back. Let me hide this and bring everybody on.
Yeah, with interest rates going up, home sales will probably slow down just a little bit, but it doesn't look like prices are coming down, though. There may be slower sales, but prices are not coming down.
Right now, the median price is $465.
Wow.
And I'm not changing that till the end of the month, though. It started the month at $450, so I wait till the first of the month till the sales are in for the month before I change it.
Got it. All right. So, Jack, you're back.
I'm
said
back.
That purposely. So what's happening in the world of cybersecurity these days? I mean, my biggest question is they're getting more sophisticated, these hackers, because I've been getting these phishing emails from people phishing to be Amazon, and the emails look fantastic. You can barely tell unless you actually click on the actual email address and see, uncode the email to see the real email. But they look pretty legit now these days. So what are you seeing as the biggest, threat right now to real estate transactions?
Well, it's certainly business email compromise is what they call it. It's definitely the biggest threat. The phishing, the spear phishing, that kind of stuff. And I just got one recently. It was a PPP thing. A lot of people got PPP money last year, and so they're sending this thing out saying, "Oh, the documentation is not right, and we need to review it," or whatever. And they kind of make it sound like if you don't do something, you're in trouble, which is one of those secrets to the success of phishing emails, is creating some form of urgency where you don't get time to think. You panic and oh my God, I better hurry up and do this. And then you do it and it's too late before you realize that you were dealing with criminals and not like the legitimate government or something like that.
Right. Yeah, the Amazon ones I get are your account's been locked. Click here to unlock your account.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many people out there that use Amazon like a daily Christmas thing. They're sending,
No
they're
doubt.
buying stuff just to get that package, and so to have that account shut down would be, a nightmare. Or, your credit card. Same thing with the banking ones, where they come in and they say, "Oh, your card's been locked. You need to log in," and they'll trick you into going to their tricky website that looks just like the real one. And the minute you enter your login stuff, they'll stall you, and then eventually they'll give you a thing that says, "Oh, the system's down right now. Give us a few minutes to try logging in again." And while you're waiting, they're taking your real password you entered into their site and going to the real site and starting to mess around. So all kinds of cute little tricks out there. So the real bottom line is just don't click on anything, and don't, open files, attachments. Don't do any of that unless you know for sure what it is.
Yeah.
And if you have a question, if it's a title company email that you're getting something from and you don't know why, it's not something obvious, then contact them and say, "Hey, did you guys send me an email? Because I got this email here that says I have to open an attachment, but I don't want to do so unless I know for sure it's safe." It's amazing. It's a huge thing right now.
Yeah. I mean, you made a great point here. I mean, if you're unsure, even if you are sure, pick up the phone, call somebody, call the person that emailed you that attachment. You make sure that is, because I'm very, I work in the financial industry, and like, we're very weary of any, like, even internally, from our own employees, right? Like sending each other links every time an employee wants me to take a look at YouTube channel. For whatever reason, I always pick up the phone, like, "Is this you or somebody else?" Because you never know, and that one extra step can save your company and yourself, probably, your career in some cases. So.
Oh yeah, licenses get suspended when you screw something up and you shouldn't have, and their fines are given out, and sometimes you have to pay back money that's lost. And, we talk about that in the class. We've got the class kind of coming up on March 31st. And in that class, we talk about phishing and spear phishing, and I show a few little, typical types of phishing emails, and again, what to do or not to do. But there's some key points overall, that you have to kind of consider, and we talk about in the class. And phishing and how to behave with the email is one thing, but it goes beyond that. Passwords are a major problem. A lot of people will have a password like this. Can you read that?
Gringo Stud 83.
I was gonna, I was gonna joke and say this was my password while I was in Mexico, but when you look at the way this password is structured, you see the 1 instead of an I, you see the 83 and the exclamation point. A lot of people put an exclamation point at the end of their password just to satisfy that requirement. A lot of sites have. 83 is a specific number. It's the year I graduated from high school. That can be found on Facebook. Criminals go and they figure out your tendencies. It's not just, I've been hearing lately, I taught a class at a local brokerage recently, and a student came up to me during one of the breaks and said, "Hey, your password stuff is different. You're teaching it a little bit differently than what I just learned. I learned that, this is how it works with," and they showed me a chart where it shows, 10 character password takes 3 weeks to crack. 11 character password takes 4 months to crack, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's brute force. That's an old technique. 5 years ago, they started using dictionary attacks and other ways with algorithms to attack and be more efficient at breaking down passwords. So anyone that's just learning brute force is old school, and they're going to get hacked, because this is a great brute force password, but it would get hacked within minutes by the new techniques. So we cover that in the class. It's really, really important, because there's people out there that aren't teaching proper password methods. I just paid for and took another cybersecurity Nevada CE class online. And excellent class in many ways, but the password part was wrong. It was still brute force. They're not up to date.
So what do you recommend from a password standpoint, if you can share a snippet of that?
Honestly, it has to be just long gobbledygook nonsense, in at least 12 characters, and use a password manager to remember everything. Don't duplicate passwords on any sites, because once criminals figure out one site, they're going to try all the common sites with it to see if they can catch you, duplicating your password. They know all the tricks, and so when you think you got it figured out, you don't. They're ahead of you.
One thing that amazes me, Jack, is that everybody wants your username to be your email address, and your email address is everywhere. So that's half of it right there.
Exactly. That's something I kind of stumbled across as I was teaching the class. It dawned on me one day that, if I give my email address and it's the one that I advertise on my website, wherever for business, then once they get the email address, they're going to know who I am. And then they could go socially engineer me if they want to figure out when's my birthday, when's all these different things, my pets' names, whatever. And they can see if I'm using. I just heard a joke. In fact, it was in this online class. It was a pretty good joke. It said this guy was talking to a woman, and he said, "Oh, I got hacked again this for the third time this month." And she goes, "Really? That's terrible." He goes, "Yeah, I've had to rename my dog 3 times now." Because we do that. We use our kids' name, birthdays, anniversaries, whatever. And we shouldn't be doing any of that because it's out there.
Right.
So if you talk about password manager, right? When you have a 12-character plus gobbledygook, nonsensical password, obviously, and you do that on, if you want to be secure, you would do that on every single website that you have any type of login in. When you talk about password manager, what are you talking about? Like, are you keeping on an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, or?
Oh, you're being cute, aren't you? No, there are actual programs out there, like LastPass, for example, NordPass, that are designed to secure your passwords behind a single master password. So your job is to remember one long master password. Now, my master password is 19 characters. And I talk in class about how to create a password that you can remember, but is still very difficult to hack. And you remember the one password, and the rest of them are just, again, password manager handles everything. The minute you go to a website in your browser or on your phone, password manager jumps up and says, "Hey, I got your password. Do you want me to put it in?" And it actually saves you typing and a lot of time doing that too. So, and it helps suggest passwords that are safe. It'll do things like remind you to change your passwords once in a while. So there's a lot of things a password manager will do. But it's the number one problem, if you ask me, in terms of real estate and getting hacked. It's just bad passwords.
Yeah, because they can hack into your email and send a fake email requesting funds or wire instructions or any other one of those things. And
well, and you mentioned email. That's number 2. Is if you've got a Gmail or a Yahoo, MSN, Hotmail, criminals are spoofing those. They're creating email addresses that are one letter different, but looks just like yours. And then they'll send them to your clients and try to trick your clients into wiring their money to the wrong place. And that's happened to the tune of billions of dollars over the past several years. So it's a huge thing. The FBI warns, don't use Gmail, don't use Yahoo for your business address. And so we talk in class about how to do that. How there are ways. If you have to use your Gmail system, there's a way to do it. If you've got G Suite, you can get around that. But the point is not to give a Gmail address to your clients or have it on your business cards or your advertising. You don't want Gmail on there. Number 1, because it's spoofable, and the FBI says don't do it. Number 2 is because it's just less professional. If you have your own domain, you look more professional than giving out, jack19634 at gmail.com.
do you still? I mean, for the most part, at least on the flyers that I get in the mail, they, I haven't seen a Gmail or a Yahoo account yet. But do you still? I mean, is that still prevalent among real estate agents?
About half the agents out there are still doing it. Half, yes.
Are doing what?
They're
Using
still
like
using
Gmail or
free
Yahoo.
free web-based emails. Yeah, AOL, Yahoo.
No, 90%.
90%? No.
Of agents are using Gmail. Yes. Yeah, we get. I mean,
I'll tell you right now that I've done a couple of surveys, and in fact, the video I play in class, they counted every email in Santa Clara County, email the Board of Realtors, and it was about 54%, I think, for them. 3,200 out of 6,000.
I have them all for Las Vegas, and the majority of them are Gmails.
Wow.
Well, and honestly, there are some agents that have a Gmail they use for like other stuff, and then they use their professional, like Tony Prado, if you know him. He uses his AOL address for like personal stuff, but he's got his gavish.com for, his professional. And he knows the difference. He's taken my class. And there's people that do that too. But I would say between 50 and 60%, depending on the jurisdiction. The further you go towards the tech centers, the less you're going to find it. But, still, it's more than half, and it's terrible. It should be zero.
Yeah.
It's still a pretty big number.
Yes, it's way more than it should be. And again, it's a professionalism thing too. Me giving out Jack and Jack Lindberg, and then they go, oh, well, let's go check out Jack Lindberg. And then they see my website and see what I do and whatever. And, that's just part of how business should work. But you're handing out some random Gmail address, it's just not good. There's too many problems with Gmail. It can be hacked, and Gmail can be hacked. It can be intercepted. It can be spoofed. I mean, there's just too many issues with it. It shouldn't be used for business.
What about like websites and stuff like that? Do you see any?
Honey, can you go to another room?
Like security leaks on realtor websites and stuff like that they need to be aware of? You guys talk about that in the class?
Well, it's they're so funny. This online class that I took because I wanted to see what someone else was teaching on cybersecurity. It was so in depth. It was like a college course. It was way over the head of most people in real estate and what they would need to know to just operate. My class is designed to keep it simple. Here's 4 main concepts that if you follow these 4 things, you're going to be way safer than you were. And you don't have to kill yourself trying to be some tech expert and protect yourself.
Well, the beautiful thing about your class, Jack, is that you teach people how to do. You tell them what not to do, but then you show them how to do what they should do. And that's where, you and I both taken other cybersecurity classes, and they're terrible. They're either too generic. They just throw stuff at you that they've gleaned off the internet. They don't really massage it and learn it. But you've got the best class out there.
Well, being an ex-realtor, I kind of get the perspective, so I try to speak in, daily realtor speak and keep it within reason again.
Well, and the beautiful thing, like you show how quickly you can hack somebody in less than a minute, right? And nobody does that. Nobody puts the fear into people like you do to say, oh my gosh. No, but it really makes a difference. People start thinking about what they're doing and how they're doing things. And these other classes are just boring.
Well, we consistently get feedback too. They're like, wow, this was a great class. The 3 hours went by really fast. The Jack's a great teacher. I get a lot of that feedback, which I think is important. I think that, if you're going to spend 3 hours of your life.
Oh, come back, Jack.
It's not a big issue. I got to learn, what do I change and do? What's that?
You broke out. You said, you broke off for a little bit here. So we only heard half of what you just said a minute, the last 30 seconds.
The internet, I tell you. So essentially what I was saying was that a lot of the feedback comes back. Hey, this was a great 3 hours. I learned a lot. Great class. Everyone should take this class. Jack's a great teacher, blah, blah, blah. And that's a good sign that people are not only just getting their 3 hours of CE, but that they're actually walking out with improvements, things they can do to make their business safer and better.
Yeah.
So Ruth just mentioned like 4 things that you need to focus on. Can you share with us, at a high level, what those 4 things are?
Yeah. So we mentioned passwords. We mentioned the free email, basically web-based email like Gmail, Yahoo, MSN, whatever. The third thing would be VPNs and just your Wi-Fi safety. We cover several aspects of Wi-Fi safety. VPN is one of those aspects where, you can use it to encrypt everything you send out over the air so it can't be intercepted and used against you again. That's another way that criminals get you. And then keeping your software up to date.
That's a
great example is like the old WannaCry ransomware thing that came out back in 2017. It was launched in May of 2017. But in April, Microsoft had issued a patch in Windows that fixed it. And so everybody that did the patch was fine, weren't affected. But everybody that waited to do their patch, they didn't get around to it when it was sent out. They all, a lot of them got hacked and ransomed to where they had to pay to get back, get access to their computer again. So sometimes it's just as simple as when you get that update on your phone, your tablet, your computer, get that update installed immediately because it's usually patching some error or some hole that they discovered.
Yeah.
So those are the four things: the passwords, the email, the VPN, Wi-Fi security, and keeping your software up to date.
Absolutely.
And then you delve a little bit into social media. You and we kind of go back and forth about what you should and should not do on social media to protect yourself. Just protection. Forget cybersecurity. Well, you're securing yourself by doing the right things with social media.
Yeah, and Ruthie, you're the business page expert out there, so you know how to get business on there. But obviously, you're also in on this, so you know how to balance that, and that's what it's really all about. Is you balance that. You want to get business. There's business to be had on Facebook and social media, but you have to kind of know what information you should have out there and what not, and how to protect it with things like Facebook lists, which we cover. And Jimmy Dagg likes to say in his classes all the time, Jack's the guy that wrote the books. Because way back when I wrote the books, Facebook for real estate, LinkedIn for real estate, etc., that NAR sold for years on realtor.org. So, I have a strong foundation of understanding with the social media, and I'm really good at stalking people on social media. I can gather a lot of information because they don't all know how to protect what they should protect. And so we talk about how to protect the right info.
Yeah. So give us an example of info you should not be putting on your social media sites,
like your birthday date. There was a magazine article that came out years ago, and it was one of the things that sparked me into getting more into the cautionary side of social media. Was a Time magazine article that talked about a couple of guys at MIT put together an algorithm that they could take your birth date and your hometown and figure out your social security number in as few as 10 tries with their algorithm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But then you won't get happy birthdays on your
Facebook or anywhere at all. Well, let's just put it this way: those that need to know it should already know it, family members and friends, and those that don't need to know it should know it anyway.
That's true. That's
very true. And the thing that people don't realize, there's information on Facebook that you can say public, friends, or a friend list that you have created, so that not everybody can see those items of information. But most of the people are too preoccupied doing other things. I won't say the lazy word. And so they don't create lists of their friends, their family, their clients. And so stuff just goes out everywhere. Like I just saw somebody say, hey, I'm going to the Bahamas for 3 weeks. I'm like, really? You're saying that? Oh my gosh. I mean, and if you know the person's name, you can find out where they live.
All right.
I mean,
which we demonstrate in the class.
Yes. Yeah.
So for go ahead.
I was just going to say, and they, the sexual predators, they understand this totally, the social media and how to find people.
I mean, that's another part of this class, another aspect or twist that I kind of weave throughout this class is it's not just about wire transfer fraud. It's also about personal safety. And we talk a lot about, ways to protect your information so that the creeps that are out there, can't stalk you and maybe get you in some kind of a compromising position sometime, because that's happened plenty of times out there. There's plenty of articles and things that I show in the class about bad guys doing bad things.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. And lost my train of thought there. I was going to say something. I'll come back to me. Go ahead, Jack.
Well,
the class is so filled with stuff that it's just amazing, how much there is to learn.
And yet it's not overwhelming, which, again, is important because, there's only so much you can absorb at one time. So I've tried to balance information and prioritize the really, really important stuff first. And then we have a nice follow-up page where you can go to after the class, review everything we talked about, learn a little bit more, and then, pursue it more if you want. So I've made a lot of effort into, having that follow-up information. I don't just send you the PowerPoint and let's try to figure out what slide was what again.
Yeah.
There's a whole website that goes and reviews the key points again and demonstrates. There's some videos that demonstrate some of the things we tell you need to do so you can actually do them.
And then my thought came back to me. What I think that people don't, they They don't take action because they think it's not going to happen to them. And then when it does, it's like, has your computer ever crashed because you didn't back it up? That's gone forever. So when you get hacked by these hackers, they get stuff from you that they've got it. I mean, they've got all that information forever.
I forget the statistic, but it was something like 30 or 40% of businesses are put out of business by hacks because it's expensive to recover from a hack. When you have a list of 1,000 contacts in your database, if you get hacked, you have to go through a process to make sure each one of those contacts is safe and hasn't been compromised. And you have to pay people that know what they're doing to do that, and that's very expensive.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is when I was taking that other cybersecurity class this weekend, and they segued over to Realtor.org. Evidently, Realtor.org is bringing back that cybersecurity insurance. So I'm going to have information on that for the class on Thursday.
Yeah, and I've got a guy that I actually helped hook up. He's a farmer's agent, but he connected with this outside company that I connected him with that he can also offer cybersecurity insurance. So wherever we can get the best deal for that, but insurance is important.
Yeah.
E&O doesn't cover it.
Right. You can get a rider now. They have a rider now. It's become so prevalent, just so you know. And like our E&O has offered me a rider, but it's too expensive versus what NAR's offering. So National Association of Realtors.
Can you hear me when I talk?
You're low. You're sounding low today.
No, we've just been ignoring you. That's all.
No, my question for you, Jack, is once people, we talk about like how to protect your hack, but once people get hacked, though, I mean, do you guys talk about what they need to do immediately right after?
Well, it's hard to cover all the different variations of hacking, but part of when I was developing this class, I was able to connect with a detective for the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. He works in the cybercrime unit, works with the FBI, Secret Service, and I've been working with him, continuously. He has now just recently put up a new page on the Las Vegas Metro's website that's going to have resources as well. So if you get hacked, here's what you do and all that. And he's really the expert at that because, for example, if you have a wire and it's sent to the wrong place, if you can reach out to him immediately, there's a good chance of getting that money back. If you take more than a couple days, then the money's probably gone.
But then he's not interested if it's less than 100,000.
That's the story I like to tell is how we met and how he said real estate's 90% of his business, and that's really horrifying when you think about it. Our industry is just problematic, and again, the Gmails and some of that is part of that problem.
Right.
But again, there are resources to reach out and try to get that wire, reversed or frozen. So it's worth the effort. I don't care how much it is or whatever. The key is to get on it right away. But we in the class we talk a lot about preventative measures so that it never happens. Yeah. For example, when you go to send a wire, there's a couple things you can do. You can call ahead and say, "I'm sending a wire. Let's double check the instructions, make sure I got them right." Another thing you can do is maybe send $100 first, make sure it went through properly, and then duplicate that with the rest of it. So there's things you can do to reduce your chances of being fooled by a criminal.
Well, one of the big things that a lot of states are doing now that Nevada's not doing is that any communication between a real estate agent and their client is going through a platform, a portal, which each person has to log on to that's protected. Right
and
now,
that is the way it should be done with transactions. Yeah. And with the new, the LVR is switching over to Remind for document stuff. And Remind is going to be a system where you can theoretically exchange most of your documents back and forth within that system. And that should be an improvement because I've been talking to Lee Barrett for a while about that, about how you shouldn't be just emailing an offer as an attachment from Gmail to Gmail. That's like the worst thing you can do.
Well, the problem with Remind, and I'll tell you right now, is it's been out for a while and people don't like it because it's not user friendly.
I mean, they made some improvements, and I just took a recent class like last week, And they've made some changes even from the time before when I took a class. So they're
That's
getting there.
good. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it'll be perfect, but it is getting there. And one thing I really like about Remind and systems like Remind is it documents every single change going on with an offer, for example. You send an offer over and then they change it and send it back. There's a timestamp, and there's a verification of where it came from with IP addresses and stuff. So you have a really good digital trail of what's going on with that document.
Yeah.
So if it ever ends up in court, you've got proof of what really was supposed to be happening. And that's a good thing. Way better than real actual paper.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Well, good. Well, any last words, Jack? I know class. You guys you're running a class this Thursday.
Yes.
With,
March 31st.
Yeah, 10 to 1. 10 to
Yeah.
1, right? And,
Yeah.
we keep it entertaining. We provide you with free lunch, right?
Yep.
And, you'll walk out of there. I'm pretty sure like 99% of students that I've gotten feedback from have said, this is a great class. Everybody should take it. Every realtor should at least know this stuff. So if you don't and you haven't taken this class, I highly recommend coming in and give me a chance to entertain and educate you.
Yeah, and it could potentially save you a lot of heartache and a lot of stress if you ever get hacked or get compromised. So Thursday.
This
March
class
31st.
is all about prevention.
You can sign up at bee.vegas, right, Ruth?
That's correct. BE.Vegas. Yep.
All right. Appreciate you coming in, Jack. Ruth?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We'll see you.
Anything else
All right.
happening in training this week, or
Pardon me?
anything else happening?
That's
in training
it.
This week?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just Jack. He's the highlight of the week.
He
This Thursday.
is. Yes, he
All
is.
right.
And then we'll be back next
Next Monday.
Tuesday, right? 1:30
Monday.
or Monday 1:30. Yeah.
Monday, 1:30.
I've got Tuesday in my brain.
Exactly right. Have a good week, everybody.
Everybody,
And
have a
All
good week.
Ruth tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I'll be here. Thanks, Jack.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Max.